Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Horsemanship Remark Show. It's February 2024, day number 1 of the second month of the year. It feels like it went by so fast. Scary, scary. Mike, good morning. Might have to deal with the dogs again. You know, there's a few things on the screen that bum me out. Have you guys ever done this? Anyway, we're waiting for Michael. Let's see if he's around. Oh, wait. He requested to join. Let's see. So I have a new iPhone. Here we go. Let's see. Let's see if it works. It'd be nice if we didn't wait. Chelsea, I hear you and I are going to get to hang out this month. So, Michael.
Your new iPhone didn't fix the problem for me. Still sideways.
That sucks. You gotta Google it. Susan.
That's a good idea. I should look into it. As opposed to
an idea. Chelsea, oh my God, me either. I'm super stoked. Did you watch the Canners? The Noah's Ark's Canners? I should have made Michael watch that before today. You guys can tell me what you think. I need to get my deal open.
I think I watched the first one. Maybe the second one as well.
Chelsea volunteers as IT. Good, so
there you go.
she can fix it for you. Which one did you watch?
Well, I watched the quick reel you sent me, obviously, of the Schmello. But no, I think I did watch. Well, there's also the reel of Novella. Watched that one, but I think I watched the first 2, or there 3 or 4 of the Novella canters.
There's really just a tiny intro and then 2 videos.
Yeah, so I did watch them all then.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's on your mind? I'll say what's on my mind this morning, and then just as topics, you guys can help. So the marshmallow, obviously. In other words, creating life was so interesting to have him brought to my attention and then go back and dig those videos out. Number 2, that spooky, the spooky curiosity versus confident curiosity thing. And then, the Canner Noah's Arks thing. So those were my 3 deals. What's on your mind?
Pretty well those 3 things.
Okay. Let's talk about the Canners just while they're on your mind. There.
Well, I think the Canners and the marshmallow kind of blend. So tell us about the marshmallow first, because no one knows what the marshmallow is.
Yeah, that's why I posted the video. Partially to help him get a new home, and partially because I wanted you guys to be able to see it. So you can go to my personal Facebook page and you'll get to see, I think I did a 1-minute 45-second clip of a horse that I had 10 years ago. I think I sold him 10 years ago. So I had him for a year or so before that. And his name was Tucker and I bought him. But I always called him the marshmallow. I don't know. He was light palomino and very round. And I guess what I'll say about him is exactly what I said in the voiceover, because like almost I credit him with being the most important horse I've ever had. I mean, it's hard to say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, and like I told, I said yesterday, I'm like, you'd still be talking to me about life if I hadn't had that horse. Like, the soft feel goes to the feet. It's like, so what do you have to say? Help me get rolling on that, because Michael was around.
Well, help me get rolling on it, and it just needs more description, because I know the story. So he was very bulky, very not motivated. I didn't know him real well, but just having seen video, having seen him a few times, even just be reminded with the short clip that you showed, which was, I believe, a few snippets of earlier on in the game, and then the progression, even just in the minute and a half. So, I mean, go watch that. But he started just very schlumpy is probably the best way to put it. Zero power, just kind of slung out over his front end, and therefore, kind of what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Zero motivation to do anything. So just a very heavy, what most people would call dull horse. And over time, similar to, in terms of the rearranging your body, a horse that you had shortly thereafter named Jax, also kind of a very downhill, that one a little bit burned up, quarter horse, also kind of bulky, a little less undermotivated, but same kind of build and body style. So, your little reel shows kind of nicely the progression. I don't think it showed the very beginning of how he, just had, like, there's just nothing there, right, to start with. But it shows a little bit of progression.
Good point.
So my question, just as you looked back on those videos, as it was brought to your attention again and looking for a home, because I was talking to Chelsea last night or over the last few days about how her horse Denali is definitely like kind of a bit like the Marshmallow in terms of build, not quite as dropped in the withers, but definitely over the front end. She has a lot of really nice stuff going and has made nice changes, but in terms of that intrinsic motivation showing up in the horse, we've talked a lot about recently, and kind of said I'm not the best at it, but whatever, I'm hunting it too, is the release and the encouragement for the little tries being the thing that truly gets them looking for offering that on their own. All right. So the first thought I had coming back to the Marshmallow is it, at least in the snippets you showed, and I know there was a lot more to it, you used the backup quite a bit to rebalance him. And I don't know how much else proportionally you use that over against other things like the short serpentine, Noah's Arks, because I don't think you were kind of onto that to the degree you are now, right? Or other horses brought that more to the fore. So anyway, in the reel you put together, there was a lot of backing up, but you could definitely see the effectiveness of backing, re-engaging the hindquarters, compressing the hock, and then go. So thinking about that, in which you talked about quite a bit, like that's what he really offered to you, was the emphasis that it really comes from engaging the hindquarters for them to create that life, to bending the hocks, causing. Yet, much attention must be drawn to the fact that in that case and in every other, particularly with a horse like that, getting them to want to do it is more than just the physical engaging the hock. And
that's a good point.
I mean, I think that comes somewhat more naturally to you, like just right off the get-go, years and years ago, that excitement and enthusiasm for the horse, but for the horse to get it and being, not,
you take a little spark,
not hammering on him, just, because that's what you talk about too, like running him into the ground or like telling him to go faster was never going to get it.
Well, and with him, it was physically impossible. That's my favorite thing about getting to share that with you guys. And for those of you guys that are members of Horsemanship Insider, I edited a 7.5 minute video for you, so you could kind of see like how I put it together. So let me know if that is interesting for you guys for me to post for you guys, because it'll show, it'll give like a little bit more of the actual, the actual, like, yeah, adding the backing circle and where I think the big thing that you'd see in the longer video is where he does get resistant, or where he comes up against the hard edges, and then how it looks as he softens. To, like, if I were learning, that would be very important to me. That's a huge part of, obviously what I've watched Gary do, especially on horses that were troubled, is like watch him get to a place where kind of the spot, right, in any different horse, and then how it smooths out. That was so crucial to watch the moment of change. So I thought maybe that would be
so yes, helpful. And it's what you can observe physically.
Yeah.
The changes, backing arcs, the backing, stopping and rebalancing, backing up. You mentioned they're coming against kind of the hard edges of, the rectangle, and, saying we've got to find a different. But two things. One, it not having a hardness to it, even though the rectangle is got a very defined edge. It's not, it's a helpfulness. It's a,
that's a good way to say it.
It's, it's not, like you said before watching Gary, it's not, oh, I'm sorry, you're worried about this flag, or I'm sorry, I'm defining hard edges, like, sorry, this is challenging, but you're welcome. So as much as your, what jumps out to you, because it's what he offered you, and you learn so much through him, is the maybe physical arrangement, helping him to find the motivation by physically rebalancing him so he could do what you're asking, as opposed to just hammering on him. One could still try to do that and be hammering on the horse, or picking on the horse, or whatever. So
yeah, no
try
amount
to talk about, try, if you could, him and all of your horses, what the other critical piece of, like, obviously I'm not hammering on him, but how do you encourage that and reward that outside of just release of pressure? Because that, whatever, that, fine, everyone talks about that, we all know that, pressure and release, but
I don't use it. But that's the reality, is like that mechanism is caveman.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, you guys, but just being real, like, that is caveman shit. I'm right. I'm sorry, but that is the deal. It can be a hard pill to swallow if that's what you're married up to. But the pressure and
it's the very basic beginning of understanding, but it's absolutely a half truth, or even a quarter truth, in that is not what's really going to get you where you want to go.
So marshmallow is a perfect example of that. So pressure and release is a way to explain something to the horse. But as you just said, it's a half truth, right? Because, for instance, with the marshmallow, you could pressurize him to some degree, although, that's part of where he's run into trouble, right? Is someone just trying to get firmer with him. It's impossible. We'll talk about that in a second. But if you had, let's say, kicked him or whacked him with the McCarty or whatever the deal is, and then let go, it's like, okay, yeah, that's the thing that you're gonna have to start with if it's not even on his mind. But it will not sustain itself from within him unless he's moving towards a reward. And this brings me to the other, well, we won't even diverge into that, but so
what you just said and the themes we're talking about now is going to come up in the other two topics you mentioned.
Topics. Yeah. So you have to discover, I had to discover a spark in him somewhere, a thought, an idea, an understanding, right? And so the question is, to get across, like, okay, this is what I would like you to do, or ultimately, like, this is how I would like you to be. Mm-hmm. So then he'd be like, okay, number one. And then it's like, well, why would he want to keep doing that? And of course, you could try to feed your horse, which lots of people do. Or you could give them the thing that they're never going to get sick of, which is peace and a feeling of internal power and autonomy. Mm-hmm. that horses really, really enjoy. But the other portion of it, and I think, Michael, this is, we never really get away from it. It's just, he's a really good example because he is the most extreme I can imagine. I said this to Buck the other day. I was like, there's nothing more dramatic than him. He's like, oh yes, there is. And I'm like, I don't know, show me. That is a lot, I feel like. But you cannot be, I'm shedding today. You cannot be, it has to physically have the potential to work. Right? And this is the thing, if you see at the beginning of the video with him totally strung out, post-talked, flinging his head in the air to like, and by then he had the idea of like, okay, I need to maintain gait. I want to sustain this forward deal. Okay. That was very important. But then after that, it's like, well, he's going to run out of forward power unless he changes the way he's going. Mm-hmm. And although I had the marshmallow years before I met Gary, what he slotted into place exactly what you're saying is that I will help you. You will feel better. And that moment when the horse realizes that, and everything, begins to change with very, very little conflict, of course, because, that's the dream, is to get so feely that you get there really, really quickly. But I guess, Michael, my point is that it has to be both. No matter how you slice it, it has to be both. Now, it's easier physically for some horses. Mm-hmm. For instance, Novella is a perfect example. It's like everything is so easy for her. It's like, why are you resisting, girl? I mean, horses have had it so much harder than you. Come on, But hers is all, emotionally defensive and physically defensive to some degree. But you have to, what works is to find the little spark within the horse, mentally, emotionally, and then you got to blow on it. Like, you can't, because it's like a dandelion, like we've said, you gotta like gently poof it out. You can't just, otherwise there's nothing left. It's over. It's all scattered to the wind and it's impossible. There's nothing left. So what was cool about the marshmallow is he removed so many possibilities, like so many detours, like that a lot of horses will allow us to go down. Like, like that door was closed, that door was closed. It was like, it's not going to happen. So it made me figure it out.
Meaning there are so many ways one might attempt to go about it that would be entirely futile.
Yes,
moving, driving him across the ground, telling him to go faster, to get more life by saying go more.
Possible.
Picking up the reins and, just getting some amount of flexion through his head and neck would never go through his body on a straight line without backing arcs, or now you'd be using Noah's arcs a little bit more, or quote unquote rebalancing him by just dragging him back or hammering him back. All of those things would not have worked, right? And the reason for your success starting out there, and the opportunity he gave you to learn that, which I guess he would have afforded anyone, but I think you learned the lesson more readily because you weren't planning, or you weren't willing to do that in the first place. I think a lot of us would have tried and tried and tried to do that, and like you said, it wouldn't have been possible. It wouldn't have been available. So I think that little reel, I'm looking forward to watching the longer one you put together, but that little reel, especially having seen little bits of the process, when we would connect at a clinic, or you
we rode in the Red Bluff Clinic together, remember?
That was so long ago.
I know, it was forever ago. So long ago. Yeah, I was just gonna show you guys. So what was the rest of the sentence you just said?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it had an ending.
I was just gonna show you guys. So look at these strides. Sorry, the reflection of the light's gonna be in here. Okay. Right. This is him maneuvering himself across the ground. Although it's not horrible, you can see that he can maintain gait to just because his hind leg is coming forward enough, right? His diagonal pair is exactly right. Lovely. But he's using his head and neck to propel himself up across the ground. And then you can see that's ultimately where he can maintain life forever. This is why you have to wash your horse's tails, I guess, so that in case 10 years later you might want to see. So you can see his head, his forehead is exactly plumb. His diagonal pair is a little more forward. He's wide at the base of his neck, right? There's no resistance there. So he could go for a long time this way. But the horse still has to learn, and I don't want to digress too far, but a horse like this has to learn how to move that way because it's not naturally how he would go. And I have a little dog, you guys, and a big fat cat who is the snuggliest little bugger. And the dog is laying on the chair in front of me, and the cat just came and laid right on top of him. And he growls a little bit, but then he just gives up because it's like, whatever. She's the oppressive close talker that you just, whatever. Pretty funny. So the thing is, backing, and I want to talk about the backing to forward, because there's a way to do that won't work too.
Okay, so hold on before you. While I have a thought, hold that thought. When you say that second screenshot you showed, he could go like this forever. Now you only took him to a certain point of, rebalancing. You didn't turn him into a bridle horse or get to where, but at what point, especially given how he started, was there a point where he was physically able as well as mentally committed? Because I think that's kind of the two pieces we're talking about. You can get hung up on just that physical component, or you can go, well, I need the physical component, but if that's going to hold, he has to mentally be putting effort in to where he could do that without a lot of support. Or was it still requiring, in the time you had him, right, a lot of, oh, let's rebalance. You can only carry this for so long. Like, what was the timeline on that with him in terms of once you saw it, well, first starting point, and then once you saw that spark and him going, oh, okay, I can do this, maybe this is possible for me, to, hey, I can do this and carry it without you having to say, hold on, we're just losing it altogether here. Just out of curiosity, what would you say?
Yeah. So he got to where he was very enthusiastic. Very enthusiastic. It wasn't like he was like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. But you do come against a physical limit, wherever the horse is in their physical development. You're going to run into that, right? In any horse. It doesn't really matter. They're just in different places depending on where the horse is. So what I just tried to do is ride him to the edge of what he could do,
Mm-hmm.
and then leave it for the next day. And then every day it was progressing, and he was plenty enthusiastic. The secret to that is just not expect him to lope 10 circles with a flying change a year before he was ready for that. So I think Jen and Kara bought him pretty close to where, I mean, he could do he could do a lot of things, but I think his stamina probably was 10-15 minutes of concentrated work ish. Where I think if you did stay in there, and I wouldn't work that horse 5 days a week on that, he could go like on a trail ride and then maybe 2 or 3 days of 15-20 minutes of actual, pretty concentrated work. And then I think over time, which I didn't get to test this, but just on other horses, I would say that, by the time he was 3 years in, I don't think he would even go the way he did at the beginning of because why would he? And this was what it made me think of when you were talking. It's like the first thing I did was show him that I wanted him to maintain gait and that I was going to let him do it. Then the second thing I did was make it easier for him by showing him how to move more athletically. So, like you said, the chicken or the egg, in that particular horse, he already understood maintain gait. I think it would be very difficult. You can't really help a horse with their shape very well. We should ask Gary about that. But I think you have to have some understanding of maintain gait. I don't know how you can get away from that.
How though does that? I mean, you can also come up against they can't maintain gait without,
Yeah, but of course. Mm-hmm.
or
But
maintain gait with any level of relaxation, with any level of composure,
yeah,
because it
and
isn't really maintaining gait by the true definition if they're trotting, but they're just racing off too. Like you have to
yeah,
maintain gait with a modicum of balance so it can actually coast along at
yeah.
a.
But you can still have the idea of maintain gait first.
Yeah.
Right? And the horse being like, I want to do this. I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like the hero when you come in and be like, all right, let me show you how to do this where it's way easier.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, thanks for that.
Yeah.
But okay, I think it was okay for me to say, and good morning, everybody. Oh my gosh, I have to just say, let's see, Debbie, Val, Chelsea's here, Margie's here. Good morning, Vivian. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Lisa, Susan, Julie, S, Christina. That's my middle name, by the way. Corey, and yay, they're all excited about this topic. Yeah, because a lot of you guys have been around long enough to remember this revelation for me. The I think it's okay for me to say the reason he's looking for a new home right now and is he is a solid safe dude, right? Like he's not going to get scared of things. You could take him out on the trail. He's had a bazillion hours of exposure. He's been camping and cow sorting and, like, I don't know, everything. But the thing is, if the psychology of having him find the peace in forward is not there, which is kind of, I understand it's not something that's necessarily super obvious, but what's happened to him over his last several owners is, they just want to spank him more.
Which
Make
is why.
him do it. Yeah.
Well,
And then he will start to kick up. He'll be like, stop bugging me because I can't do it.
mm-hmm.
And why?
Yeah. Which is why, right off the bat, the thing that jumped out at me and the thing I wanted you to add to it is not just the physical component of, you can't drive him across the ground. You have to help him get to a position where it was possible for him to be more athletic in order for him to find that intrinsic motivation. But it was more than just a physical rebalancing. It was, and you mentioned it in the clip too, of him kind of becoming more proud of his ability to do that. So, yeah.
So fun. Yeah. So, of course, the first thing I want to do is, like, give him back to me. And now I will, fix him up. But the thing is that we will always revert back to the same thing on a horse like that, unless you do adjust a little bit. But, Michael, this is the thing that's so cool is it. If you want what we're talking about, it has to come from the horse's mind, and they have to move their own body.
Mm-hmm.
And the marshmallow, I watched him in the herd. It's not like he moved for the other horses. He'd be like, Katniss could probably get him to move through force alone.
Which is interesting.
I know, I would be very curious to see how it went down because of all the horses. Like, let's see you move that 1,100 pounds, Missy. He might just be happy to get injured and be like, now I'm hurt and still here.
So those of you that live closer to Emma, you need to help find someone who is interested in pursuing this journey, hopefully with a horse that's challenging, and then get him back through Emma's, with Emma's help, get him back to where he can be, because it's in there. He knows it. He's probably wishing for it. No.
I think he's had a lot of fun, it sounds like. Whenever someone is in his wheelhouse, he's had, and is very appreciated, because he is not a spooky dude, although, of course, the duller you keep him, the less spooky he is, and the more life you brought up, perhaps he'd be a little bit more aware, but probably not so much,
But if someone needs a safe horse for friends and family to ride, but also wants to advance their horsemanship with, a somewhat challenging physical starting point, but with the support that would be most attuned to getting that, someone near you needs to pick them up, and you can help them there.
I would love that. I would definitely love that. The thing is, most people do get frustrated with a dull horse. I mean, they do. But I think the reason for that, this is the thing, I think the reason is because it's hard to believe that it will change.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, that's something that the marshmallow did for me. I will never not believe because of him.
Mm-hmm.
You guys know, some of you guys that have ridden with me. My horse, it's like, don't be crying to me because I know the truth.
No, it's
But it is
possible.
exactly. Yeah, I can't. He won't maintain gain. He just dies every time. It's like, how disciplined are you to accept the idea? Be like, yeah, more of that. And you guys will see in the 7-minute clip, there was one time I wanted him to kind of trot Baker, but he wanted a canter. So he's like, oh, I know this. It's like, yeah. But at that point, we were just starting to build in Corey, the longer trot in there. That I was or the kind of the more powerful big trot in him, which would have been super, super fun to see.
How
So
committed are you to the idea? Is that the words you just said?
you got to capture the idea. Like people like, I'm waiting for my horse to maintain gait. It's like, I'm being mean about it, you guys. But that's just because I'm a little bit punchy right now because he's reminding me that you should be believing me when I say it. Try harder.
But okay, so the idea, not just I believe it's possible, as you do, having kind of taken him from where he was to where he became more powerful and motivated, and you saw that change, you experienced that change. So it's not just, oh, I believe it's possible because when you say how much do you believe in the change or in the spark, in the whatever, that is possible, not just how much work are you willing to put into getting a horse there and believing it's possible, but more so how much work are you willing to put into looking for that in the horse and watching the thought cross their mind. I think that's what you intended when you said it, although I think it could also, I don't know. Like there's two layers to how you might understand what you said as far as like how willing are you to put in the work to
I think what I said though is how willing are you
to put in the work to find that belief that it can happen, or how willing are you to put in the work to look for the spark
I think
within the horse and believe it's there?
I think what I said is how willing are you to reward the spark? I think, or
it's not what you said, but
what? Okay, so I don't remember what I said.
But I think that's if that's what you meant, I think it could have been missed and interpreted as how willing are you to put in the work to get your horse to do it.
Yeah.
And believe because you just said, like, I will not ever not believe it's possible after having worked the marshmallow. And it's like, how willing are you to believe that it is possible, even in the face of feeling like it's not possible? That's one side of it. Or how willing are you to put in the work to find that spot, because it takes a serious amount of focus to watch the mental, emotional component and not get hung up just on the physical.
Yeah, and how willing, I suppose, implies a tiny bit of judgment. And I would just say, I know if you guys have one horse or two horses or whatever, it might just be like, this is not fun. Like, I have the weekends to ride my horse, and I do not want to spend the time because it is tedious if you're not into it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is one of the most interesting things. That's why I'm like, bring me the doll horses that say, like, oh, he's a kick ride, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, bring those to me. But that's because I think it's fun to convince them, but I totally understand if that's not your thing. I have many of you guys that are my friends that I love dearly that are just like, no, that's not what I'm into doing at all. But what I am saying is if you're committed to your horse at this point and you
Yeah.
love your horse and this is kind of what you got, then it's totally doable. But you have to, I guess, resign yourself to the fact that this is going to be a little tedious in the beginning, but it totally will work. And I don't know, from my perspective, it's just like when the horse just internally perks their ears up, that's the first thing you reward.
Mm-hmm.
You don't reward half a circle. You reward the horse going, oh yeah, 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 yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fun. But I get it. If that is just, you're just like, no, I want to
So,
walk that canter on the trail.
so
You know,
okay, one thought that brings me to that internally perks their ears up. Kind of a starting point to that, even if you are just trying to hammer them across the ground, let's say we're not trying to get them to maintain life and whatever just by hammering them across the ground. But if you think of that horse that's undermotivated, I mean, maybe not even physically, just really not in position to do it, but just the horse has like been kind of dull before, and or allowed to, like, even thinking Brody, like, he's going to do not very much if the rider isn't very believable, and it'll even kind of pin his ears if they come in strong but not really effectively. And so that, I'm oftentimes, tell someone, particularly with enough confidence, like, just like get in there and demand that he go, basically, until he's like, whoa, okay, you mean business, and the ears pop forward, and now we have some life to work with. Because demand isn't the best word, but if you can tell,
it's a
you
good
can
point.
tell someone who is hesitant to be firm, to just be like, be kind of bossy relative to what feels maybe comfortable to you on somebody else's horse, and then we can back off and this can all be nice. But right now he's going, whatever. And that's not how he has to be. So just kind of come in and say, no, we're doing this. Which is
what advice this
yeah.
particular owner has been told
Yeah.
over and over again. It's not working at all.
Yeah. Yet, what I'm saying there is, in terms of just getting the engine started.
Well, and that is where the secret sauce in just getting the engine started is not in just firming up. You guys, listen. That's a Brian Buffini thing. Listen. Firming up on this horse to get the engine started will not work. It does work on some horses. Zorro, for instance, my PRE. I got him because he was kick ride too. You do have to be like, come on, and it works, right? But he has all the potential in the world for forward.
Mm-hmm.
The marshmallow demanding more to get the engine started he will just start to kick up. But that's where the brilliance of backing an arc, creating a bend in the hocks so that there is inevitable potential power.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just let it
So
out.
it's inevitable, but it's still only potential.
Yeah, but I mean, if the horse will back up and get round, can't be backed up like that, like that's never gonna happen, right? Which is Buck's backing circle changed my life. I would just be in a completely different discipline, which is impossible. But when a horse is backing round and then they bend their hocks, then they're not going to stay squashed down forever. So you will, as soon as you get a bend in the hocks, the power is inevitable. But the person has to understand, and this is something that we've been talking more and more about, and you and I were talking about it in Ocala, right? We were all talking about it in Ocala, watching Buck put a bend in the hocks, and then, which was happening all the time because, that's how the horse was started. That's how he was ridden forever. Well, Gary started him, so he had the ultimate, and then Nathan and I did our best. But the nuance in that is then there's a lot of really cool things in how you allow that power to express itself, and then how you can keep that fire going as it releases. So if you think about it, you guys, this is pretty, um, I don't know, pretty detailed, pretty fine. Details, I guess, in the sense that when you put a bend in the hocks, you're inevitably going to have some forward power, but you could have only as much forward power as it takes to go.
Exactly.
Yeah. But you guys have heard me say a million times that you now you have power. Use it. You have to calculate how much there is to use, and not expect that, for instance, the marshmallow, the first time he felt power, it was going to be like a half a lap.
Mm-hmm.
You just wanted him to feel it. And so Faith, we have a couple other comments here. Faith, it's interesting. Your comment is interesting because she says it takes more energy and intent as well, which can be exhausting. Yeah, I wonder if she's talking about physical energy at all, Faith, because it shouldn't take more physical energy. I mean, I suppose. I don't really think so. Not generally.
Sure as hell takes a lot more focus.
That I would
You can't
totally
be distracted or riding mindlessly and expect what
and maybe that's what she meant.
You're describing to work.
Yeah, Lisa says, I totally agree. It's fun and interesting to find the spark in the lazy, dull. More whoa than go horses. Thank God she thinks that, because she's the one who has Jake. Mental energy, Faith says, yes, very true. But Faith, do you think that it takes a lot of mental energy just because of the concentration, or partially because there's a lot of doubt that's dragging along in there? I think that was certainly hard for me. Or, for instance, with Jax, I had a lot of doubt in what was possible for him physically. So the line between wondering and doubt can suck a lot of energy. Doubt and possibly lack of confidence. Oh yeah, totally true. Totally true.
Well, and I think even if there's not doubt in the possibility, there can be doubt in your ability to execute said encouragement and said, because to me that's the more challenging piece, and that's what I've been kind of hopefully not discouraging Chelsea with. I'm like, this is not easy, right? Like getting the physical component of compressing the hocks, balancing the horse is the easy part. It's rewarding incrementally, like you said with the marshmallow, like you're only going to get so much, and then you have to let them know, like, hey, that was pretty cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then, that is,
and then drawing that out and stretching that out, and really, like Faith is saying, it takes a lot of energy to have that kind of focus to catch that and build that, even if you know how to physically compress the hocks and release them into forward. Like you said, there's a lot of feely stuff there, watching Buck and Boson or Mayhem and being like, there's the potential power, but now how are we going to use it such that it sustains itself and not go potential power, we go forward and splat, which of course Bozeman and Mayhem were not going to do because they were much further along than that. But like getting that next little level of potential power, and here's how I'm going to help you carry it. I think the doubt can come in not in whether or not that's possible to do. I mean, maybe some people doubt. I don't doubt that it's possible. I've seen it. But doubt in, you know, how possible is it for me to execute this, right?
Sure,
So.
sure. Yeah, or like, I know it's possible,
Mm-hmm.
but like watching Gary do it, and basically once he gets it rolling, it never disappears. So then my anxiety and my stress is, it's taking too long. I'm losing it here and there. This can be so much easier for my horse, you know. I think, oh well, you just do your best to continue to get better, and that's where, you know, it is fun for some people and not fun for other people. But I want to mention that probably a lot of us who grew up with horses, well, I'll just say from my experience, you know, when I was a little kid, I would play around. I remember very clearly realizing that there was power in the backup. Like, we've probably all kind of seen that on various different levels. And you can back your horse up and punch him forward, and you're going to get something. Like, obviously, because you do have more of a bend in the hocks. That is not going to, that's really not what we're talking about. It will not work. It will scare your horse. You know, in the worst case scenario, it will make them feel like they're ambushed, and it won't accomplish the sustainability that we're talking about, because it's really just like if you're a ballerina and it's like, all right, now let's bend your knees and then stand up again. Well, bending your knees is half knee, usually, right? It could be both, you know, that's half the deal. And then how do you express that is the other half of the deal. So, and I think that is that's the art of it. Once you learn the technique of backing a circle, you know, which sounds dumb, like how hard it is to back your horse, right? But to back your horse with quality, on a float, softly, where they are turned loose, and there's no tension. It takes a little bit of practice, but very doable, I would say, because it's so confined. Like, you could be like, is this working or not? And it's kind of cool because you can, you know, all your groundwork should lead up to it. But trying to capture what the physical feeling is like moving forward, combined with when the horse goes, this is not easy.
Exactly.
But the horse,
That's what I've been
even
trying
the,
to say.
yeah, even the, well, you were doing a good job. I was just recapping. Even the marshmallow, though, filled in for me a lot. Even the marshmallow.
Who's not inclined to
Well,
do
but
any.
he's a generous horse in his own self. You know, on or at least he was. It's so hard, Michael. Oh my gosh, because I know nice people have had him. He's had like 4 owners, I think, since me. Really nice people, which I love so much, and he's been taken great care of physically. I believe he's 100% sound, and which is awesome for a 16-year-old horse. A 16-year-old quarter horse, you know, Poco Bueno style. But it's difficult for me to say because I haven't ridden him in 10 years. So I don't for sure know where he's at mentally and emotionally 100%. And I honestly don't know. I'm so curious, of course. Kip's like, no.
Don't get anywhere near that horse.
I'm like, but, come on. You know, he's like, you can take, this is what he said. You guys, listen. Kip said I could buy him back if I had somebody who would buy him after me. If I already had somebody lined up. So there you go, you guys. But he's still, here's the thing. Here's the caveat for whoever buys the marshmallow. If you want to have fun, you're gonna probably have to figure out how to cause him to want to go forward. Otherwise, you're gonna end up in the same boat. But he is the one you could still put your kids on, I think. It's hard a little bit, Michael, because, you know, I think this bucking thing, like, which
Kicking
I've seen the
out.
marshmallow. Yeah, because he can't really. I mean, it's way too big. Even in his most scared moments, I don't think. But, you know, if you're going to whack him with the McCarty and he's going to kick up, and then you're going to whack him again, maybe he does put more effort in. You know, I don't know. He didn't do that with me. So I don't know for sure what the stitch is. But maybe I'll go ride him and kind of see. But Kip's like, do not.
That's what I'm saying. Kip's probably thinking, don't go anywhere near this horse because he knows you.
Kara needs to just drop him off at Debbie's and be like, well, I don't know what happened. Debbie be like, Kip, sorry about that.
Well, whoever knows Kara, just tell her what she should do. It's a done deal. So how quickly were you onto it with him? If that's the only thing that was going to work, did you get right to business accomplishing that, or how long did you have to search around for it to even get a start on it?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it was very long because I don't feel like I ever was in some big miserable, I don't know what to do. I don't recall that.
So were you riding him though when I think it was Spanaway, maybe it was Dayton, it was one of those two where you're like, but no, like you basically asked Buck, like, how do I get X, Y, or Z? And he's like, well, you just get life. Get him.
It was Red Bluff.
Was it Red Bluff?
Yeah. Because I was trying to do everything on a loose rein. That was the conundrum at the time. Walk, trot, canter on a loose rein, maintaining gait, maintaining direction, blah, blah, blah. It's like, if you don't have enough life, no. So that was the thing. But we won't throw Buck under. That was the same clinic where I was like, oh, the fifth method of yielding the hindquarters. That was a long freaking time ago. And was that the Levi year too?
Well, if it was Red Bluff, I think so, because I don't know if I was
Well,
there.
I went to Red Bluff a couple times.
I don't know that
What year?
I don't know. It would have been 14.
Yep, it was
13 or 14.
Yep. I think it was, yeah.
Depending what. Yeah, it had. Yeah, I don't remember.
Maybe 13, yeah. Huh? Yeah. And Val says sometimes the doubt has to be put aside because the instructor believes, or someone the rider knows believes. The rider needs to suspend disbelief and rely on another's belief. Yeah, for sure, Val. That's totally what I did. Jean says, Emma's quote, I will help you feel better with very little conflict. Wherever we are, we are. Good. Let's proceed. Oh, yes, exactly. I love that. Did I say that? Wherever we are, we are. Good. Now let's do something. Yes. Yes. That's exactly what I mean. Debbie's laughing at me. So, Debbie, you're laughing now, but don't be surprised. Here's the secret, you guys. Come when Debbie's at lunch, like about noon. And if you just come in the front door, she won't even see you there. And just put him in the arena. That'd be hilarious. So fun. But I mean, I don't know. On the other hand, you're just like, oh, do I even want to see a horse that I have all these memories about, He's probably doing awesome. That's realistically the deal. Then I did offer to help Kara, but I totally understand the situation that she's in as well. It's like she's kind of ready to just be like, maybe I need an Arab cross again. The other thing I wanted to mention about the marshmallow is just, you guys, this is why my tolerance for my horse does great on the trail, but he's just not an arena horse is this much tolerance for that.
It's a lot.
Maybe less. Yeah. Maybe less. Because that's on you. Which is fine. You can use the trail as a crutch. Just be clear that that's what you're doing. It's not the horse's fault. Because I just know that for many horses, not just the Marshmallow, but he's just the extreme one where he got excited about let's do some cool shit. I'm like, oh yeah. You guys wonder why I have 12 in the barn. That's why.
This is where I say Emma's right, but it's not easy, so don't be discouraged.
Yes, this is very
again
important.
Right, what I said right off the bat. Even if it's easy physically for you to understand and then accomplish the core mechanics and learn the techniques, let's say, or the movements, that component of watching for the spark and building it. And I like your idea of just like taking that little spark and blowing on it a little bit and letting it build. That to me is the part that, like Faith said, is extremely I don't remember what her word was, but is challenging, is tiring. Takes a lot.
Faith says she's off to work. Have a great day at work, Faith. She said she can't wait to watch the rest of the show. Yeah, you're right. You guys are both right. I mean, you're both right. And then Julie O says, when we protect our opinions on our horses, trail versus arena work, it becomes the reality. I don't know. I guess I see what you're saying, Julie, but it doesn't become the reality. It becomes your experience. Maybe that's what she's saying is reality. But it doesn't change the reality that the horse is not a non-arena horse. I don't know. You could think of it either way. I do see what you're saying, Julie. Yes, Michael. And I guess I'm not saying that I didn't have. I mean, it didn't all happen overnight. It would happen a lot sooner now. And you know what else, Michael? So funny. You know, because Gary is like the king of life. Look up and out where you're going, right? His tolerance for looking down is 0, right? And I do look down. I look down on my horse because I want to see what's going on, but not always, right? And I did notice in those videos that I look down quite a bit more than I do now. It's interesting to see. I want to keep watching that for the horse, but I don't want to watch myself too much just because I don't want to go backwards, you know? But I wonder how much different. See, this is another reason it would be so interesting because I wonder how much different it would be, you know, if I was even that much better looking up and out, you know, where I'm going. But you guys sometimes hear me say, look down, but I don't want you to move your hat. If your hat brims like this, don't look down. Look down with your eyeballs. But the horse knows that you're doing that too. I guess the last thing that I would say about the marshmallows deal is I hope that by sharing his story and by really showing the videos, which are painful to me just because he's so dirty, you know, in his tail. But like, I'm gonna keep a light colored horse clean all the time. I mean, this is the reality of of having a white horse in Oregon. You know, the proof. I hope that Corey's laughing. Yeah, because you can imagine Corey. The proof in the pudding is I love that way more than what we were talking about the other day, words, pontificating. It's like, no, here, this is the deal. This is the example. So I hope it can be inspiring to people because I don't know how many of those horses there are that are quite that ill-suited to prancing across the ground.
Even if your goal is not prancing across the ground, right? But like, if hopefully Chelsea's still listening, if not, she'll catch it up later. But I mean, this is exactly what we're talking about with her horse. But even if your goal is not prancing across the ground, which I think hers is, like, just to build a fantastic, I don't know, prancing probably wouldn't be her word, but to have it feel like you're doing it together would probably be first goal, where it's not like the horse is not interested and you're trying to convince the horse to be interested, or you're just having a constant conflict. Okay, so that's first level. But also, like, wanting it to feel like it's building somewhere and the horse is getting more powerful and it's sustaining itself. Not just, we're not having the conflict, I kind of know how to help you, you're more willing and not pissed off at me because of my approach, but building this into more and more enthusiasm in the horse and more, you know, excitement together, to where it's not just, okay, you're no longer irritating me and we can be buddies, but like, hey, this is cool, let's go do some shit.
Yeah, and is a great point, because it should get easier for the horse, not harder.
Mm-hmm.
Easier. Side note, congratulations to Debbie Driesner for
Kicking ass.
yeah, yeah, of course, but she found the soft feel with Regalo, balanced in the middle, where the reins connect to all 4 feet. Freaking awesome. Debbie, post that picture, would you please, in comments? Because not everybody has to want what I want. Totally get it. But that picture of Regalo is what I want. So I'm so excited that she figured it out. Yeah. So Chelsea says, I'll take prancing any day of the week. Julie, oh, you're right. I love how you said it here, Julie. She said, I think the horse's attitude and or performance reflects our expectations, but their potential remains intact. Yes. Perfectly said.
So your whatever, mentioning and commending Debbie and her work with Regalo, I'm just going to add Julie O has been, she's doing the challenge with my dad's horse, who she's worked with for a couple of years, but very sporadically, like once a month, if that. So maybe, you know, she'll come down and ride a couple times in a day. So maybe like 12 times a year at most, 12 to 18, right? And so she's been down every week for 2 or 3 days since the challenge started. Not every week, but since the challenge started, and she's getting 2 rides a day, some days 3 rides a day. So she's doing the challenge with a horse that's like 3 hours, maybe a little more from her, and she's getting it done. She's making so much progress with Scarlett. You know, from where she started out, she's got remarkable changes in terms of relaxation, but now building the quality and, you know, moving toward more engagement to where transitions are more possible without her falling on her face and rushing. And she got some beautiful canter transitions the other day, which have never been comfortable for Scarlett. And I think she's on to the component of Scarlett going, I want to do this. This is possible to me without it feeling yucky. So
yeah,
I think you not only got her physically, or Julie not only got her physically doing the deal, but that component of, we're doing this together and I want to give this to you because you've helped me get here. And it's just going to snowball from there. So it's pretty cool. And
Yeah. And
hell, she drives 3 hours each way just to ride the horse. Not to like go get help with the horse, but just to be with the horse she's trying to do the challenge with. So
pretty
pretty
awesome.
cool.
Pretty awesome. And this is what the dressage masters were talking about. I was just reading Hans's book again, The Art of Riding, and which that's the one I haven't read in a long time. And you come back to that over and over again. Is the dressage should make it easier for the horse, more enjoyable. It should not be more work. So, congratulations to Julie for the whole picture of mental, emotional, physical, and therefore the spiritual thing. And it's so fun. And every horse is different. Scarlet, very difficult for her to move. Very, she was so just it was physically challenging for her to sort herself out, right? And so Julie has helped her do that. Versus, like, again, Debbie with Regalo, it's not hard for Regalo to move. And when Gary was riding Regalo, that was a huge, like, he can do all of that all at once. So of course Regalo's like, oh, okay, now I know where to be. He was allowing him to be round and soft and turned loose everywhere. That's what helped him get emotionally together. But the horse is not. It's very easy for him to move. So Debbie's journey has been a little bit different than like what let's say the Marshmallow or Scarlet, where they need help. Though Scarlet and the Marshmallow needed help to accomplish this physically. Then they can you start the ball rolling, as you said, and then they can carry the torch.
Mm-hmm.
But like with Regalo, you had to figure out how to come together with him physically, which was a mental and emotional puzzle. Still can't get around the fact that you can't be rewarding tightness or blocking him or letting him run out the front of the rectangle so that he thinks that's what you want, or letting him lean on the inside shoulder because he thinks that's what then that just upsets him. Not because he can't physically do it, but because he's so sensitive that whatever you're rewarding, he's just going to do more of, and that adds up to a big disaster. So the same thing, but different ways to get to it.
Mm-hmm. What is Regalo?
He's an Andalusian Arabian cross, we think. He's the one that went through, I don't know, he went through 4 trainers. He was legit dangerous. And he came to Harmony New Beginnings to be euthanized, which was probably not a bad plan. But he was only 7 and gorgeous. And he had these, soulful eyes. And Debbie took him on and decided she was going to work with him for a year. And at one point she came to me. She's like, well, what do you think we should do? Like, I was like, I cannot help this, or I cannot fix this horse. I cannot. It's not something that I can do and imagine that he's gonna get better. And I said, there's only one person who would be able to help this horse, and that's Gary Bailey. So what was so cool is Debbie loved him so much, she invested to drive him all the way down to Oklahoma. And he was there for several months. And, well, actually, remember, Gary flew out, did the assessment. It really helped. I mean, we were all crying because the horse changed so much in that first day. Anyway, a lot of you guys have heard that story, but it was one thing for the horse. For basically what happened is Gary helped him in a way that really only he could have done to create that window for Debbie to get organized. But she and I were just talking about this, Debbie, we were just talking about this yesterday, right? Is the reason that she hung in there so long with him, because it has not been an overnight deal to arrive at that place where he is, like he is in that picture. She's done lots of other fun things with him, but the things that an ambitious rider wants to accomplish has not been a short trip. She could have, my point is, she could have had it faster on other horses, but the love of that horse has kept her in the game. And I really think that, like, Gary created this place, right? But her love for that horse has kept it open way longer than if it would have just closed right back up if she hadn't had the latitude, because she loves him. I mean, any of you guys that know Debbie and Regal is totally real thing. So anyway, Julie S says, Julio and Debbie, I'm overjoyed for both of you. Rome was not built in a day, and you're doing the work. Yes. Mm-hmm. Is it work, you guys? I don't know. I think if you think about it as work, well, I'll just say this personally. That is not how I think about it at all. It's so burdensome to think of it as work. But on the other hand, I say grind. Yeah, Val says yes, it's work.
Well,
Val, I was just thinking about you when I said it.
um,
This one
it's
might
effort, and it's effort, and it's like Faith was saying before she had to run. It's effort, and it's, what was her word?
Well, which word are you talking about?
The word where you're like, is it?
Oh, she says it takes more energy and
Yes,
intent
energy.
is what she meant. Yeah. But I mean, how
So,
well, there are things, I would say, let me
well,
just keep this children friendly. There are things that take a lot of energy that I don't consider work.
no.
I mean, do you?
Well,
Would
but
you say I'm doing the work?
yeah,
It's like, I can't, I don't know.
putting in the
Maybe.
time, you could
Yeah.
call it work.
Yeah. I
Sticking
mean,
with it, and then what Faith is getting at. It takes a lot of energy, like you said, it's not for everyone. Like if this is not your thing, that's fine, because it concentration. I mean, I say it all the time. Like at the end of the day, I am tired. Not teaching is the same thing. It's not work, but it is mentally taxing.
effortful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's not unenjoyable. It's not physically necessarily that demanding, but it will wear you out to be that focused for that length of time, whether it be teaching or riding a horse. Like you have to be there, you have to be
Mm-hmm.
focused, and that, at least for me, is taxing. Like I am worn by the end of the day, not so much because of the physical effort, but because of the mental focus required.
100. Although, may I just say that taking care of 12 and riding several in a day is a physical deal. I love it, but I'm like thinking, I'm so grateful. Icing my back, taking my amino acids. I'm like, geez, get a drink of water. You can't mess around, physically. But yeah, mental is the larger thing. You remember how many times did we say, I can only do one horse and then I have to take a nap?
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of, and I think technically work is the proper definition. Um, although,
Depends on the connotation, what you mean by work.
yeah, and all I'm saying is I don't think of that, but that's just, it's interesting. Whenever I hear it, I'm always like, oh. Let's see. So Joanne says you have to stay consistent and focused. Christina says putting in the hours. She says I do art, and hour can actually be 3 if you're not paying attention. Oh, that's so true. And then Julie O says it's the work of the privileged. Very true. Jody says in response to Christina, when I paint, I say I'm working on my painting. I don't think it's always a negative word. I don't actually think technically it's a negative word. Like if we get down to the nitty gritty, I don't think technically it's a negative word, but it's not how we think of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a neutral word, but if you're like, oh, I have to go to work versus, you know, I'm putting an effort on something,
Mm-hmm.
at work,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And just circling back to the point that horsemanship is going to take effort if you want to pursue. You can have less or more, whichever you like. For instance, you could get 1 horse and make that into your wonder horse, and the work is going to get easier and easier as you go along. That's one way to do it. And I think for some people, the marshmallow would generate a lot of joy, less work, more joy, you know. And for other people, like Debbie, just being frank, the marshmallow is her worst nightmare. She's like, no, I would not want, but she chose another
yeah, there's a
project.
reason I bought Rooster.
Yeah, yeah. Right, I have Katniss.
Katniss had plenty of willingness and whatever. It was just the balance thing.
Yeah, she's funny. She is so funny. I love to see her be a ham. And we've been doing some catching, you know, and she is hilarious. And there are some things that you go back to the novella comment. You're like, you're so good at these things, and it's like, horse, you are so broke in so many ways. The brokest horse ever. Yeah, she and Zorro, you know, and then they have their little things that are not their strong suits, you know.
Mm-hmm. She
It's pretty
Did
cool.
she give you the dart again the other day? Is that what you're saying?
Mm-mm.
No.
No, she's figured it out. But it's
Yeah,
fun to.
yeah. It's almost um it's not ideal. Obviously, you don't want to do, but you can almost see it's the energy in the herd, the energy in her where you're going. If I walk up to you right now, you're gonna go, "Ee!" and just run away and like go gallivanting across the pasture, and then like a few minutes later, be like, "Okay, let's go do something." But and I make it sound like it's this, you know, game she played off, and it wasn't. But it's more when the herd was kind of stirred up, or you know, came in
100%, yeah.
there, yeah. But it was
But
just funny how much you could see. You knew what was going to happen, and I don't know. It was the same thing as Rooster being all crazy and being a turd. Is like I just enjoyed it. I mean,
see,
half of the fun
yeah,
was like you go out and you're like, I know she's just gonna like run off and kick her heels up and be a dork for a while, but you're just like, well, let's see. Like I want to watch her do it, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah.
I know she's not. I know she's not hard to catch half the time. Most of the time, she just walks right up to you and is like, "Hey, let's do something." But yeah. So anyway,
Just
after I've been thinking a lot about the other day where I was like, yeah, Rooster was like doing this, and I'm just like, and it was great, you know. Like,
well, that's a perfect example of the opposite of what I'm into. Like, I don't want to be shit scared all the
I
time.
wasn't shit scared. I was like, this is awesome.
Exactly. That's exactly right. But a giant thoroughbred that wants to jump around and be a racehorse, after being penned up for a while does not sound like fun to me at all, because it would scare me.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'd have to go about, sorting that out differently than you. I was like, oh
What
yay.
what's been fun though, because I've been riding him a fair bit, probably more than need be. Um, that he kind of does his, ticks or whatever from his living under some measure of pressure, and he does his jaw out and grinds his teeth kind of and chews on the lead rope. And you know it was probably a week and a half ago, right, that I had him like, wanting to rip off and just kicking up at everything and having fun and just being a spitfire. And like last night, I'm like, I don't really feel like going that much. And I'm like, nope, come on, we're still gonna go. And he stands on the wall without jacking around and chewing on the lead rope. He's just like, oh, before the ride, after the ride. So I wasn't worried about it becoming.
I know you were. I know you were. And that's why it changes so fast with a horse that you're not adding angst to, right?
Yeah.
It just it doesn't get amplified.
Yeah.
Paula says I get to learn from my horse. It's schooling. That's a good way to look at it for sure. Learning. But school work. Those two words go together too.
Levi thinks school is jail for kids.
I would agree with him. I was not a fan of being jailed. I won't tell him that. Don't worry.
Yeah, sounds good. Deal.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what I'm going to bring for your kids.
I think they'll be fine. You don't have to bring them anything.
I know, but I would like to bring them something. Because I remember, my parents having adult friends come to stay, and I would have been pissed if they hadn't brought me something. Or they always did. It was like, I guess I just remember them doing it. And so then they were like, I want your kids to like me.
Mm-hmm.
I could have some ponies delivered.
The
day that I get there. Could be good. Well, we got through one topic.
Yeah.
Today. Someone, well, here, can I do this? Can I say, curiosity, good versus bad? And what was the other one?
Novella.
Oh, we talked about that though. Oh.
I was going to say, yeah, we more or less covered that without referencing novella as much as we might have otherwise.
Except for, I don't know that we really talked about what you saw in those canners, in the walk canners. Oh!
So, just last little bit, when you asked what did I see, marshmallow videos, novella videos, how much in the midst of the like really nice moments there are still transitions, particularly down where it goes flat, and who cares, right? That was a nice effort in the lope, and we'll work on the downward transition later, or we'll have this kind of shoddy downward transition and go, all right, well, let's rebalance without it being a big thing. Was one of the things I noted, particularly watching the two side by side, because it was way more obvious with the marshmallow than it was with novella, but that kind of going flat out of a canter walk transition or canter trot transition. It's like, well, okay, let's get back. But there wasn't a big deal made of the flattening out after the moments of brilliance.
Yeah, and the thing about that you will see in the marshmallow video, the 7-minute one, and then if you look at the Noah or the novella walk canter walks, there's so much of it that isn't perfect.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of components to walk canter walks and curves and heading towards the ability to change your feet very, very methodically and confidently and turn loose, and like, and the process to get to that, it doesn't all come together. It and that I That's the part I want to share, because if you don't understand that, or if, like, for instance, if I hadn't been able to watch the process over and over again, it would, none of this would be working, because it doesn't shape up all at once. No matter if you think it should or not or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's not going to shape up all at once. And that's where I think we should talk more about creating the potential for things, and then gathering ingredients. And then if it suits the horse, the ingredients will add up to the curriculum, because why wouldn't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the incremental nature of things, and not maybe. Even talking to you the other day, and was like, kind of feeling with Rooster in a way, like I'm getting him more broke, but not
Oh, yeah,
not
yeah.
tapping a lot of what we're talking about. And again, not even so much the physical development, because I am working on balance and all of that, and improving the quality of movement, even as I'm getting him more broke, so, so to speak, that like he knows the movements, he's consistent in the movements, they're getting lighter, they're getting more understanding, between me and him, and he's, it's not as much a struggle. Like for example, what I'm saying there, yesterday or just recently, been working the turnaround, and he's getting so much more sure of what I want, to where I kind of just set it up, and he goes, I know this position, I know what you're after, but he's got like all the crookedness up front, and he's not therefore like really standing himself up yet in the turnaround. And part of me is like, well, we're not really gaining the benefit of this yet like we could, because we aren't really sitting. We're not falling forward, so we are sitting. I mean, we're maintaining our balance over the hind end, which we weren't. So part of me wants to fix on that and be like, no, sit more, lift, reach better.
Make it the end result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And last night Chelsea was hanging out while I was riding, and Chelsea and Stephanie, and I was like, I kind of just want to let him do it how he's doing it, so we can add in that sureness of I'm getting it right, to where he goes, oh, I know how to do this, and not fall forward or not lose the hind end. And like there's some parameters, but letting it be imperfect, letting it be a part of the process. So I've been thinking about what I was, telling you the other day, just kind of how it feels riding him right now. And kind of just putting a ride on, touching on a few things is probably just right.
Because remember,
And yet it's the mental component in that I need, that I'm hunting more so, to where it's not just, it is just putting a ride on and kind of getting him more broke, but trying to find that, getting him more broke and more mentally enthusiastic and connected, not just, well, we're physically very, very capable, so let's get you in position and understanding the movements so we can develop into that capability. But get to where he's really hunting. What do you want? How do I put more effort in? What are we doing together? This is interesting. This is feeling better and better. Hey, maybe this is something I want to do more than just because it's great to get out and move around a little bit. And, I'm a friendly horse that likes snuggling and interacting with people as we're, grooming and saddling and whatnot. So having
because
the movement and the ride developing his mental connection as much as physically just getting the movements done.
Exactly, because curiosity, excitement, enthusiasm is a better word, joy, peace, like those are all ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have more of one of those things in a ride, even if the physical thing doesn't, if you're like, oh, I had more joy, be like
if they're bucking around having fun,
yeah,
like there's
totally,
enthusiasm and joy.
totally.
Don't squelch it, right?
100%.
Yeah.
If I could,
And that was what crossed my mind. Like I could say, no, we're doing this, and get organized in such and such a way. And it's like, well, maybe, but why not? Because it's going to be fun for me. Like
100%.
Like he had fun, I had fun. It was like
We
chaotic.
hate you for that.
What?
We hate you for that. Because wouldn't it be awesome, you guys, if we could have fun while our horse was leaping around, getting the P's and V's out? If we could ride that and have fun. Oh, I'm glad he appreciates it.
The next day, because it was, like 10 days off for all my horses because I was in Florida, but the German riding pony was also kind of just a little bit more squirrely and spooky, kind of like she was initially. And so she had a few duck and dodge things and was rushy. All the things we're working on were kind of at the forefront there. And the next couple days later, I'm like, man, my neck hurts again. I'm like, what in the world? And Stephanie's like, you don't think it's maybe because your horses have been like all over the place underneath you for the last couple days? I'm like, well, yeah, probably.
That's awesome. I think I don't know, my thought, and I'll have to think about it more. I think probably horses hook on to joy way more than we think they do. But, maybe humans, Gary, don't listen. Maybe people, grown-ups, maybe we don't experience joy as much as we could.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what you're talking about.
Me either. And the unfortunate part is forcing that is impossible. So I don't know. That's just a thought that crossed my mind.
So how do you?
Well,
so conversation for next time. How do you foster it? If forcing it is impossible.
Yeah, one of the
foster it.
Well, the first thing is you got to figure out where it's coming from.
Yeah.
For instance, we could all say too much social media makes us unhappy. Mm-hmm. So quit doing that. A sunrise makes us happy or whatever, but I think you got to notice it probably first. Mm-hmm. So yeah, get to Julie for that. She can help you. Totally. Yeah, you got to find it first probably. Anyway, we are over, so it is time to go. Fun topic, right? So you guys need a home for the marshmallow. I did offer to help, and that's kind of not where she's at this point. I totally understand. So we need a home for the marshmallow. He's in Oregon City right now. You can message me with questions, and if somebody wants to buy him and keep him with me for a little bit, then Kip says that's okay. But you have to be committed first. Yeah, that's the story with that. And I hope that you all get a chance to watch the marshmallow video that's on my Facebook page, because it's just seeing is believing, right? And you can kind of see it there. So check it out, because even if you never have a horse like that, it's still educational, I think. And yeah. And Julie says she knows how. That is what she does. Corey says, letting things go and being in the moment bring joy. Kids are experts at being in the moment. Yes. I was thinking about that the other day, because first of all, they don't have to remember like a million passwords. That's our first problem.
They do make program, or there are programs that auto generate passwords to where you just have to remember the
Yeah, I know. We just haven't
part of
100% transitioned over to that yet, but I'm like, I wonder how much freaking bandwidth sucks up my week by having to remember passwords and logins. And I was just paying my real estate realtor dues, and it's like I do it once a year, and Jesus, that I just want to pay my money.
the number of times you email yourself saying, I forgot my password, let's reset the password. I almost feel like I should just put in whatever, and every time just say, well, I forgot the password, email me so I can reset the password.
That's true.
Don't put the effort into remembering, put the effort into spending the time to reset it every time.
Yeah, that's smart. All right, you guys. Well, thank you all for joining us this week, and thank you for your input. And yeah, Joanne says she has a password book. So does Gary. Like, you guys are smart. My mom does too. I'm paranoid about that, but it's the smarter way to go for sure. Anyway, you know what you guys could do is put in your notes, and I can't see here if Debbie has posted her photo of Regalo, but I hope that she does. And Julie, you're welcome to post yours in there also, if you have one of Scarlett. And then maybe if you have thoughts about what we should continue, I'm going to try to do better about looking through the comments before the show. Basically, next week I'll look through these comments. So if there's more that we have to talk about, let's do that. And and then I'm going to get to Julie. I think you had some, was it Julie or Susan? Maybe Susan. I asked the insiders what they were seeing in the novella reel clip, because there's something in there that I do that I think is kind of interesting. So I'll make that comment on the Mighty Networks. Well, you'll have to go in and look at that. All right, everybody. Well, Michael and I will see you next Thursday morning. It will be the Valentine's show, right? No, not yet. Not yet. I can't believe we're into February. Yay. So we'll see you next Thursday morning at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
8:30 Central.
Have a good week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.